Hey everybody, let's talk a little bit about the SWOT analysis and the 5C conference that was in part of your reading this last week. I got the impression that a lot of you had a good grasp of what a SWOT analysis is all about: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But there was a little hesitation by some of you on giving me the impression that you really understood the 5C conference. So let me quickly, just from a very practical level, share with you how those two tools can be used at a nonprofit organization. Many nonprofits do their strategic planning every 3 to 5 years. A lot of times they'll do a board retreat where the board will spend a whole day or a couple days just talking about strategic planning. And their overall goal is to answer 3 questions. Where have we been? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? And how are we going to get there? So maybe that's 4 questions. Where have we been? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? And how are we going to get there? That's, in a nutshell, that's what strategic planning is all about. A lot of times, to get the process started, the process of strategic planning, a board will have a consultant come in, or they'll divide themselves up into 4 groups or teams like your book talks about, and they'll take each of those categories of a SWOT analysis and they'll really dive in and try to think deeply about the health of the organization. So they'll think about strengths. What do we do best? What are we really good at? What are our weaknesses? Where are we vulnerable? What don't we do so well? And then what are opportunities? How can we leverage our strengths? How can we maybe serve more people, offer new programs? What are some things in the future that we think will enable us to do something different, something new, something exciting? That's where vision comes in. But then you also have to deal with threats, as many of you wrote about in your paper. You seem to have a good grasp of what that's all about. You've got to be honest with threats to maybe personnel. What if one of the major people at the organization would resign or would leave? That would be a threat. What would happen? What if one of your major funders, either an individual or a government grant, what if that went away? That's a threat. How do you deal with those things? So SWOT analysis, that's a way that a lot of times you get the discussion started for strategic planning, and it gives you an idea of, okay, where are we now? What are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? But it is a pretty involved process, and it does take some time. And you're going to wear a volunteer board out if you try to do a SWOT analysis every year. That's something, every 3 to 5 years, depending on how often that nonprofit board wants to do strategic planning. So instead of doing a SWOT analysis every year, your board, your authors of your book suggest something that they call a 5C conference. And you know what those 5 C's are. You look at competencies, you look at culture, and all those things that were listed in your book. It's just a framework for discussion to just kind of look in a less formal way at the health of the organization and to think about some key aspects of the organization and how it runs, and to make some tweaks, some adjustments. And so they talk about a conference where you set aside time to talk about the 5 C's, and then you have a board retreat where all the board members can get together and talk about those findings and just try to engage one another in very strategic conversation about vision, about the future, how the organization can get better. Well, you can see how obviously that would be a positive thing in most cases, to get board members thinking that way, to thinking about how the organization can be even more effective in accomplishing its mission. So just want you to understand the differences between the SWOT analysis and the 5C retreat, the 5C conference. You're not going to find a lot on Google or any place else about a 5C, that 5C model. I think that is unique to the authors of your book. So some of you are trying to do some additional research. I think that's just a model and a concept unique to them. But if you do find something else that I'm not aware of, let me know. And hopefully this little explanation helps and you guys are still enjoying your reading and enjoying the course. Have a good one.